Hey, and welcome all to Green Screen International Lecture. This lecture is part of Green Education in Media Erasmus project. And my name is Kirsi Karimäki.
And my name is Tuomo Joronen.
And we are both from Tampere.
Yes. So GEM, Green Education in Media, is a EU project which is led by Film University of Babelsberg, Konrad Wolf, and by our splendid Björn Stockleben. And the project has 7 countries and several universities incorporated from Germany, Greece, Finland, Croatia, Malta, and Poland. And the topics we'll dealing with the project are environmental awareness, supporting digital and green capabilities, and new sustainable curricula and courses.
Yeah, and here you can see the packages, the work packages that we are working with on GEM. In work package 2, alternative learning spaces, our research question is how can we embrace nature as a context of learning? And in right-hand side, you can see the picture of our latest camp in Germany, where we tested this kind of a classroom setup. Work package 3 is about environmental impact of media design and production, and there we want to know how can we make our own production processes sustainable. Work package 4 is about stories of environmental impact and climate change. How can our contribution make difference to society that we want to know? And then in the end, we put everything together and we want to build an environmental media curriculum.
And today we have these 2 lectures. First one, the lectures will be roughly 45 minutes. We have about environmental impact of digitalization from specialist Lotta Toivonen. She's from the Finnish Innovation Found, Sitra. And the second one is a story of a documentary called Lynxes, which is directed by Juha Suonpää. And I think Juha's film has a nice connection to this work package 4, where there's an impact on Finnish society has already taken some place. But I personally think that these are very good examples of 2 very different takes on this topic. So I'm actually very thrilled to see these 2 different perspectives into the same context or the same topic. And here are the partners that are part of this project. And here are the legislative content for this thing. And I think with no further ado, I think we can give the torch to Lotta.
So my name is Lotta Toivonen, and I work as a specialist in the Finnish Innovation Found, Sitra, in a project named Nature and Daily Life Project. And this project is the kind of that our purpose is to inspire and support Finns to change their lifestyles to be more sustainable. Today I'm going to talk about the environmental impacts of digitalization, and I need to say that right now I'm not working that deeply with this topic as I used to do. But anyway, this is still present in our work. And this in our project, we have many kind of projects ongoing in our team, and I need to mention that one of these projects is Metsäresepti, which we do together with Tampere. And I guess it may be that some of you know that. I worked in Sitra now for 7 years. Before my current project, I worked here in, among others, in circular economy project, and then, as said, with sustainable digitalization. And I have a master's of thesis in environmental sciences. So today I'm not going to talk from the technical perspective, or as an IT engineer would speak. So I will rather approach the topic more from the perspective of ecological sustainability, but I will of course touch a little bit also the technical issues. I've been working more closely with this digitalization now for the past 5 years, and during this time I've been involved in creating Finland's first climate and environmental strategy for ICT sector, which was published in 2021. And I've also been involved in several green ICT projects where we have tackled this digitalization both from the positive but also from negative environmental impacts. And today I'm going to, well, this is the topic I got, so environmental impacts of digitalization. So today I'm going to talk about that. And then I'm just thinking how, yeah, now it changed, the slide changed, yes. But so first, however, a few words about the Finnish Innovation Found, Sitra. So Sitra is quite a special organization in the world. And Sitra was established in 1967, and it was a gift from Parliament to a 50-year-old independent Finland. And Sitra was given a task with building tomorrow's successful Finland. I changed this route, yeah, no screen, no, okay. Today Sitra is an independent future house for Finns, and I could say that it's a kind of think and do tank, which works in many roles, ranging from visionary to developer and from experimenter to financier. Sitra's vision is implemented by 3 themes and 100 projects. And these 3 themes are fair data economy, democracy and participation, and then sustainability solutions where I'm working. Sitra's operation is funded by returns on endowment capital and capital investments. In this sustainability solution team, we promote the transition towards a good life within the limits of the carrying capacity of nature. In practice, this means that we provide tools to combat natural loss, tighten ambitious climate policy, boost a circular economy, and communicate ways to live a sustainable everyday life. And we have 2 projects in this team. My current one is this Nature and Daily Life project, but then we have the other one, which is the Nature and the Economy project. And they concentrate more on the direction of political decision makers and businesses, while my project is focusing on the citizen level. And in addition to this, we have also another team who is responsible for organizing the annual World Circular Economy Forum. Today, I'm going to tackle 4 sections, and that was actually Kirsi hoped that I cover all these. So let's see what is coming. But first, I want to take a look at the ecological sustainability, and then I would like to answer to the question: is ICT a part of the solution, the challenge, or both? And then let's see the question: what kind of digital services are we using, and also what kind of services are available? And then in the end of the presentation, I talk shortly about the biodiversity footprint, which is kind of coming in the field of sustainability, or ecological sustainability. Since today we are talking about environmental impacts, I want to start by talking about the big picture of ecological sustainability, and I want to emphasize that well-being of nature is the foundation of all life here on Earth. So currently our planet is facing a global sustainability crisis, and the dimensions of that are nature loss, climate crisis, and depletion of natural resources. All these dimensions are interconnected, which means that as the overconsumption of natural resources increases, so does the loss of nature. And for example, as the loss of nature progresses, the climate crisis will worsen, and so on. And these are also things that challenge the life of humanity on Earth, and we need to be able to respond them all at the same time. We already have a lot of information on root causes, and we have solutions that are widely available, but what still needs work is to acknowledge that we actually are in a hurry to make a change. As far as global warming is concerned, this is what it looks like right now. we have agreed that we will try to limit the temperature rise as close as possible to 1.5 degrees. Current commitments by countries are sufficient to limit heating to 2.7 degrees. But at the moment, we have already warmed the planet about 1.3 degrees compared to the pre-industrial times. And therefore, current measures are not enough. And we need more work, and we need to do more to stop global warming. And then let's take a look at the state of biodiversity and resource consumption. So on the left, there you can see the Living Planet Index. And this index looks at nearly 32,000 population of 5,200 vertebrates, animal species around the globe. And according to this Living Planet 2022 report, monitored wildlife populations saw an average decline of 69% between 1970 and 2018. This suggests that natural ecosystems are degrading at the rate unpredicted in human history, and this significant drop in the value of this Living Planet Index is a sign of the predicament of nature. And then the picture on the right shows the ecological footprint per person in different countries. And to live within these means that our planet, humanity's ecology footprint should have to be lower than our planet's biocapacity, which is currently about 1.6 global hectares per person. So if a country's ecological footprint is 6.4 global hectares per person, its residents' demand on nature is 4 times more than what's available on this planet per person. And we can see that almost all of the countries in the north, they have bigger footprint. And as we know, we overuse natural resources and use nature as landfill. So globally, we consume at the moment 1.6 Earths, and we need in Finland approximately 3.8 Earths to meet the consumption. So there's something we need to do and quickly. Fortunately, we already have also many tools for solving this sustainable crisis, such as the circular economy, renewable energy solutions, and technology and digital solutions. And like the aspect of the sustainable crisis, these are also closely linked and mutually supportive, because many such tools need natural resources and energy. But since we are in a hurry to solve the sustainable crisis, we must also make sure that these tools are used correctly and that they really solve the problems and do not create new ones by promoting unnecessary consumption or such. And this is what I'm talking about today, so that while digital solution can help to solve the global sustainable crisis, digital technology must be designed and implemented in such a way that it consumes as few resources as possible, and that we also use it for things that need to be resolved. And in short, we must minimize the environmental footprint and maximize the handprint. So what is handprint? I guess most of you, at least most of you, know the carbon footprint, but what is a handprint? And what is the difference between footprint and handprint? So in short, the carbon footprint, the carbon or environmental footprint, we can also talk about the environmental footprint, that focuses on negative impacts now, while the carbon handprint highlights positive impacts in the future. So carbon footprint refers to carbon dioxide emissions caused by human activities, and in most cases, the carbon footprint is reported as carbon dioxide equivalents, which takes into account not only carbon dioxide, but also other significant greenhouse gas emissions. Instead, carbon handprint indicates the positive climate impacts of product or services, and the positive carbon footprint results from the fact that a solution offered by a company reduces the carbon footprint of someone else, and typically it's a customer. And these actions taken to reduce the company's own carbon footprint, they don't increase the company's carbon handprint, so that's good to remember. And a simple example of carbon handprint service is, for example, a virtual meeting application that we use when we remote work, and which also allows us to use and meet each other from home to the other side of the world, and like we do now. And then thanks to the virtual applications, travel is included, and emissions are reduced. And the carbon handprint alone is not enough. So if we don't take actions to minimize harmful environmental impacts, and I want to highlight that the target should always be to focus on both of them and not to think that our handprint is already so big that we don't need to care about footprint, as I have noticed that it seems to be the way of thinking in ICT sector too often, that they think that the handprint of ICT is so big that there's no reason to do that much changes for the footprint. Okay, so then I move to the second section, which is the question, is digitalization a part of the solution, the challenge, or both? And I need to say already now that it's actually too early to say, but there are warning signs that the direction will not be sufficient, will be not sustainable if we digitize society without thinking about why we actually digitize things. So let's take a closer look at this section. So however, digitalization has two kinds of role in relation to the environment. On one hand, digitalization provides solutions that can have either direct or indirect environmental benefits. On the other hand, its increased use increases the consumption of energy and materials, because as the amount of data increases, more and more energy is spent not only on equipment, but also on transmission of data in telecommunication networks and on the processing and storage of data in the data centers and so on. So in addition, both natural resources and energy are required to manufacture various digital devices and the needed infrastructure. We already have many good digital solutions that can help us to solve the sustainability crisis. And there are the kind of solutions that increase, just as mentioned, the handprint. And these kind of solutions are, among others, sustainable mobility services, which help reduce transportation emissions, which are actually quite hard to reduce. Then we have video conference and teleworking technology, which helps us to reduce transportation emissions. We have environmental monitoring technology, which allows better monitoring of the state of the environment and helps, for example, monitor air quality, make better weather forecasts, and anticipate storm and floods. And then digital solutions help also to share information about sustainable lifestyles and good practices quickly and effectively between different people. And then they help to accelerate the circular economy by enabling the sharing and utilization of data related to product life cycle. And this kind of data can be related to traceability of materials. It can be related to product material contents, or even to the use phase of some products. And these digital solutions can also help to enhance the use and recycling of materials and energy. And in addition, it helps to extend the life of products by means of sharing platforms, which facilitate the sharing, renting, and reuse of products. So anyway, it's good to keep in mind that digital economy is not immaterial, although it can often look like that. Digital devices use the same critical raw materials that are also needed for the green transition. As stated in the previous slide, the ICT uses a lot of energy and materials, but it also can take us towards a carbon neutral society. I highlight it can. The climate impacts of the use phase of digital content are in many places greater than the climate impact of digital equipment manufacturing. And we can see that if we look at the history, we can see that the ICT sector has actually done a really good job for a long time, especially to improve the energy efficiency of hardware. But it doesn't seem to be enough, as some ICT researchers and experts say that as the ICT industry achieves energy efficiency improvements, increasing capacity and use will actually eat the immediate gains. However, the measurement and reporting of the impacts of the use phase of digital content still needs to be developed, because in light of current knowledge, it's difficult for users to estimate the energy consumption of data use and its impact on the environment. And there are many reasons, but one reason is that the value chains in ICT sector are dispersed around the globe and across the industry boundaries, so that's why hard. And also there is not yet any standardized or common method for measuring and reporting these impacts in digital of digital services. If we take a closer look at how much energy the ICT sector currently consumes, studies show that it accounts for 4 to 10% of the world's electricity consumption. And according to some estimates, the ICT sector's share of the world's electricity consumption could increase to as much as 20% by 2030. It's good to notice that now we talk about the ICT sector's electric consumption, but it's only a part of all the electric consumption generated from the use of digital technology, because digital tools are used everywhere. When we look at the emissions, the global emissions generated in the ICT sector are between 3 and 5%, and these emissions are relatively moderate despite the sector's high energy consumption, and this is because the sector uses a lot of green electricity. For this reason, the ICT industry likes to talk mainly about emissions and not about the energy consumption. And anyway, I see that my opinion is that a more accurate picture of the use of resources can be obtained only when we look at both, and especially we look at the energy consumption. A good example of this skyrocketing growth in electricity consumption can be seen when, for example, looking at Google. So this picture is from the Google's sustainability report, latest sustainability report, and it says that Google's electricity consumption has increased by more than 500% in the latest 10 years. And this is equivalent to more than a quarter of all electricity consumption in Finland in 2022. Google reports that all its electricity is from renewables, but in practice, Google has still operational data centers that use fossil-generated electricity. Google can report 100% because they compensate the emissions and buy green electricity from the grid, which equals the consumption. But of course, they also have their own on-site production and wind energy. I want to emphasize that it's anyway good that Google and other IT companies produce and use green electricity, but sometimes I notice that people don't understand it's wrong for it to justify a huge increase in electricity consumption at the time when more than 60% of all of the world's electricity consumption is still produced with fossil fuels. So the situation is that if ICT is using a lot of green electricity, there are still sectors that have to use fossil energy, and as far as we don't have enough green electricity in the world. Besides, it seems that we are constantly developing new electricity-hungry solutions. So currently, earlier the researchers talked about the blockchains and virtual cryptocurrencies, but now the researchers are concerned about the electricity consumption of AI. Next, let's take a look at the e-waste. So the world is constantly producing new digital and electronic devices for which virgin natural resources are needed. And at the same time, huge amount of equipment are being phased out. Electronic waste is the fastest growing type of waste in the world at the moment. And the amount of e-waste is increasing by about 7% per year. Currently, this amount of e-waste produced per year is actually, in the world, is actually the same amount. It equals the same weight of the Great Wall of China. And only 17% of world's e-waste is properly recycled. In Finland, we do better, but not enough. So our recycling percent is around 45 to 60 of all e-waste. Many digital devices are quite complex and they contain small amounts of dozens of different metals. Smartphone is a good example of such a device. So smartphone has 4 main components: screen, frame, electronics, and battery. Almost half of these, and it contains can contain up to 80 different raw materials. And almost half of these different raw materials are metals like indium, dysprosium, lithium, cobalt, and so on. And these metals are needed, among others, for creating colors, for touchscreens, for fire protection, magnets, and batteries. And many of these metals are only in very small quantities on the phone and often come in various mixtures of materials, and this complicates the recycling and also and especially the reuse of materials. With this slide, I have highlighted 5 key challenges related to the use of natural resources in the ICT. One key challenge is increasing consumption, that new equipment and new equipment models become available continuously and their service lifespan is quite short. In 2022, as many as 1.4 billion smartphones were sold worldwide, so the total amount of raw materials and energy needed to make these phones is very large. Another challenge is the short lifespan of devices, which is only about 2 to 3 years for smartphones at the moment. And this is because in addition to people's consumption habits, the devices are not currently designed to be long-lasting, repairable or upgradable, but it's good that there will be change in the EU based on the legislation that is happening right now. Third challenge is that the equipment doesn't end up in a proper recycling place, but often remains in people's closet at homes. And even if the equipment ends up in recycling, not all raw materials can unfortunately currently be recycled back for reuse for economic reasons. However, recycling is promoted by the fact that many other sectors will also be competing for these same materials now and in future, as these same metals will also be needed for wind and solar plants and also for electric cars and their batteries. Yep, and then let's move on to the section 3 and talk about what kind of digital services are we using and what kind of services are currently available, and actually how could we do better. First, a bit about the data usage. So both consumers and industry are increasingly taking advantage of digital services that use data. And today, less than 80% of world's internet traffic is for downloading and broadcasting videos. And currently, about 80% of global internet traffic is consumer use, and the remaining 20% is caused by other reasons, such as business use, emails, and so on. After videos, the second largest source of data on internet is actually various web services, like traditional web browsing, news sites, and information services. And however, the amount of actual information on the internet sites hasn't increased significantly, but the website layout and advertisements have increased the content. Correspondingly, increasing amounts of data need infrastructure and terminal equipment, so in turn it also has an impact on the use of natural resources. Currently, companies and organizations are developing a variety of digital services at an accelerated rate. Today, the design of digital service is unfortunately mainly driven by cost, speed, and ease, but not, for example, by energy consumption or data minimization. We have even better and better mobile networks, our phones have limited data per month, at least in Finland. The service are planned to be visually stunning, and the energy or data consumption of the service is not any commonly used criteria. Since the in-use energy consumption is not an objective, insufficient attention is paid at the design phase to how much data and thus energy the service uses. Another reason for the increase in the use of data is related to, of course, to the increased use of digital services and to the increased number of users. The continuous increase of data is very well visible in this picture, and like this shows like how we create things. In this picture, we show statistics on the development of the website over the past 10 or more than 10 years. You can see that the typical size of pages implemented for desktops has increased more than 430%, and that of mobile devices by more than 1,400%. Earlier mobile phone, pages were lighter for the mobile phones, but currently they are equal. And this picture shows that the size of content offered especially for mobile devices has grown clearly more strongly, and that on average mobile devices are already served with content which are as heavy as for computers, even though the devices and screen are essentially smaller. However, the size of the website and digital services does matter. So if you consider e-commerce, the lighter the pages will load faster and thus increase sales. And this is a reason why some online stores have already paid attention to the size of their pages and speed of their services. And it's so simple that the faster the page is, the more business. In 2022, Aalto University published an analysis of the front pages of 1,000 popular Finnish online services, and the results show that there are actually more than tenfold differences between different web pages. And 1 year later, last spring, actually, Aalto University published an open service test that lets you test the size of the web pages. There are also some other similar tools available, but this is done in Aalto University, and it also gives you an analysis of the actions you can do to decrease the size of the pages. And I encourage, actually, there's a link in the page, so and I am sure you get this presentation afterwards. So I encourage you to visit the service. And I can say that I used this test last summer when I wanted to test a website of different amusement parks. And I also wrote an article. There's a link below in the slide, but unfortunately it's only in Finnish. So my small study showed that the biggest front page of amusement parks was almost 50 megabytes. So every time you download the page, it uses 50 megabytes of data, which is really heavy. And the reason for my little study actually started from the case that I was in our summer cottage and I tried to buy a ticket from my summer cottage to one amusement park, and it didn't happen. I couldn't do it. So when I saw this test, I thought that, okay, now there's a chance to test if one reason for this thing was that the sizes are very big, and it might be so. Fortunately, solutions and better developments are also on the horizon. So green coding is one thing which has attracted strong interest in software industry in Finland, and I think also somewhere else, but at least during last years, that has been very common in Finland. And this green coding means methods that help to minimize the energy consumption of software. And the factors that affect the equation include cloud capacity optimization, software language selection, file size, format, and data processing. There is a picture on the right about the book that was written by Finnish coding expert Janne Kalliola, and that's about green code, and I think it's a good reading if you're interested in that, and it's also available both in Finnish and English. Also, Code from Finland organization has established a carbon neutrality label for software industry, and I think it's at least among the first ones in the world, if not the first one in the world. So in a nutshell, you can say that less is more. So we already have a number of good digital solutions that can help solve the sustainability crisis and do kind of use resources better. However, we must ensure that they are designed also so that they are resource efficient, and also, of course, that they are used smartly. And still, I want to present a couple of more slides on why should I be interested in ecological sustainable digital design. And first, these digital solutions help make operations more efficient, as I had said. reduce the use of resources and promote also a circular economy, and we can kind of say it's handprint. Second, ecologically sustainable digital solutions can provide both cost and environmental benefits. Third, if you take it now, you will still have the advantage of being a pioneer, because I'm sure that increased awareness of digital sustainability will only increase, and the demand of sustainable digital solutions will be much stronger in future. Also, ecological sustainability is and will remain one of the priorities of national and EU legislation, and then I'm sure that at some point also these IT figures will be included in the key corporate reports and do the responsibility reporting. So I'm sure that will come at some day, sooner or later. Today there are already good guides available on the internet on how to design more sustainable digital services. And if I kind of try to summarize my own instructions from the perspective of environmental scientists, so they might come this way: including use energy consumption in the design criteria for digital services, especially if you are purchasing these services. So instead of purchase cost, set operational costs as criteria. Optimize and minimize data usage. Take into account in the design of the green interface at least the following, like the effectiveness of navigation, a clear and minimalist layout, fast operation of the service, relevance of all features of the services, meaning that no unnecessary stuff. And I actually last week noticed that Netum, which is one software company, they had published quite good green design guide. And unfortunately, it's only, at least so far, available only in Finnish, but let's see if it's coming also in English. And I am sure there will be also some others in English for sure. And then two other points: maximize the lifetime of digital services, which means that also the upgradability should be taken into account so that there are upgrades available long enough. And of course, be interested in this subject and increase your awareness and develop your skills. I'm not going to cover this slide more, but I just want to say that there's Tieke Finnish Information Society Development Center in Finland, who has and is running many green ICT projects, and they have created an open green ICT information portal, so you can access that through that link, and there's also content in English, so if you are interested, you can visit there. Then I'm heading to the final section, and now changing to the other kind of topic than digital. And this was like Kirsi asked me to add this, like what's coming next, and actually this is something what I'm currently working on. So this ecological biodiversity footprint. So now everybody knows climate crisis and carbon footprint, I think, and it's widely known. So what's coming next? So we are going to talk about the biodiversity and kind of take a bigger picture to this situation. This means that the climate will be there, but it's only one driver. So in addition to the carbon footprint, a biodiversity footprint is being developed, and it takes into account not only climate change, but also for other drivers such as pollution, land use changes, invasive species, and direct exploitation of natural resources. This methodology is still under development, but it is already possible to, for example, to calculate footprint of organizations, companies, and even to individuals. And at the moment, the best methods capture already 3 to 5 out of these 5 pressures or drivers that are listed in this slide, 2 well and 1 or 2 partially, but this method is developing all the time. The unit of the footprint will be the biodiversity equivalent. It indicates the fraction of the species of the world that are in risk of going extinct globally. And this index works in a similar way as CO2 equivalent, meaning that it integrates complex information under a single indicator. The footprint allows the international comparison of biodiversity footprint between, as said, different organizations, individuals, and so on. And Finland is doing a pioneering work, and that is done in the University of Jyväskylä, and they play also a key role in the development of this footprint. Currently, they are just actually creating a research to us, to Sitra, on the footprint of an average Finn and how to reduce it. And so this study will be published in May. And if you're interested in hearing about this among the first ones, you should follow Sitra's social media webpage. And there's also a link in the below in the slide where you can get more information about this content. But I can say that Finland is doing a good work when developing this method, but also, of course, there are also work done in other side of the world. Okay, so this was actually my presentation today. I hope you you had time to hear and energy to hear. And now, if you like, I can try to answer the question, or if I'm not able to answer right now, so then I try to find out the answer later.
Okay, thank you, Lotta.
Thank you. Yes.
So are there some questions? If not, at least I have a couple, or at least one. My one question would be, there was this, that green design software saves from 30 to 90% of energy, and I guess that was about like just making that green code, but how much, or do you know, like some particular software how they are doing that already?
Yeah, well, CJI is actually the figures. Some of the figures are coming from them, and I need to say that this is actually one challenge in the world, that we don't have exact numbers. So those are just estimates, and those companies who are doing the work and recoding, and they say that there's huge potential. But for example, in Sitra, we kind of have a dialogue with EU and political decision makers. So I have been asked if I could give some figures, and unfortunately I don't have, and I have tried to hunt those figures. So I have said to the experts that please hurry up with the figures, because according to the understanding, they should be big, and as said, those figures are related to green coding. But well, green coding can also contain. It depends on how you look at that, what all things it contains.
Yeah, thank you. And then was there a question from Marta?
Yes, I have a question about the biodiversity, because it's not directly related to the energy savings and the digital technology. However, you showed that there is some correlation. Is there any models or any methodology how to assess the impact of the energy savings and energy on the biodiversity?
Yeah, well, like as I told, we in Sitra now doing a research on the average Finn, and it contains also the energy consumption. So it's kind of the number we will get out and publish later. It contains energy consumption, so it is there. But yeah, how do I say? That will become. So kind of like now we have the carbon footprint. In future, we have the biodiversity footprint, and it will cover the energy. But of course, I still have to say that there are some constraints still, which will be developed. But for example, the index looks at the area, square meters. So like minings, I have said that it's not yet perfect, like taking into account the mass of, for example, minerals. what I have understood. So, but it's coming.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thank you. And let's take last question from Björn.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I was wondering if there's anything that I can do as a consumer to choose a service that's less energy consuming, because if you look, for example, at to-do list apps, there's a dozen of them, and even a couple of good ones. And if I was able to choose the one then that saves the most energy, because it seems to really have a scaling effect, that would be very helpful. So are there any databases?
Well, as said, measuring this is very difficult, but there are a couple of things which we already now can say. One is actually that use the fixed network instead of mobile network always when you have an opportunity for that. Maybe it's I know that outside Finland people use more of this fixed network, but in Finland we use a lot of mobile, but it's actually very energy inefficient compared to the fixed network. So that's one. And then of course try to think when the video gives you some added value compared to the other kind of messages, because it's very data intensive. And then the smaller screen the better, and the smaller resolution the better. So for example 80 the big screens with 8K picture, they are very energy consuming compared to the, for example, HD picture and smaller screens. So this shortly list, but yeah, there are some actions, but unfortunately it's hard to measure. And there are meters that can measure that, but as said, there isn't any standardized way to measure that. So the figures also change quite a lot.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, thank you, Lotta, for preparing this really nice presentation for us and giving this presentation. And I guess we would have a lot of questions, but we have also another presentation today, so we need to move on. But I hope that we also collaborate later together, and you will follow our project maybe.
Okay, thank you once more, Lotta, and then we welcome Juha. So Juha will talk about the documentary film Lynxes.
Good afternoon to everybody and welcome on board. I have a background as a fine art photographer, but I'm also a filmmaker, teacher, among others, horse farmer, and so on. But that's another story. I have many stories to carry with you, but now today I will share a story with pig cats, what we do have here in Finland. Today I will continue from Lotta's thoughts because we do have a lot of information and technical solutions, to be honest. But what we do need is to wake up and change our mindsets. So for that, we need art. Art can show us what we didn't know yet. Art can and art do need to surprise us. So as a working title, I put the Wildlife Film 2.0 means that is there another way to go forward with documentary films about nature? The answer is, I don't know, but we should. In many levels, the consumption is based on visuals. In general levels, advertising, videos, whatever, I mean, from television, from social media. We see polar bears and beautiful other kind of animals, but I think we have seen them enough. This really doesn't change our heart. It somehow generates maybe even a boredness, kind of not seeing anymore nature, because we do need to see nature, but we do need to see nature from different perspectives with new eyes. And for that, we need, following Lotta, a smaller resolution, not only saving energy, saving climate, but also changing the perspective, how we see things around us. Here we have a lynx. And without stories, without seeing anything, just saying it's a lynx, a wild one, it triggers imagination from our side, and it creates interaction between viewer and the artist. And somewhere there in an immaterial space starts things happen, change happens also there. Also, of course, information is needed. Here we see lynx tracks, but they are cheating us. There are 4 lynxes. There's a mother lynx and 3 kittens. Taken 1 week ago in my surroundings here in Finland. We still have a snow here. But yeah, beside the information, we need empathy. If we follow UNESCO's sustainable citizenship ideas, we need awareness, we need empathy around us, critical thinking, also, of course, working with heterogenic groups, both in wildlife, both among us humans. If you go to forest here in my surroundings, in Tampere, in Lempäälä region, you can see lynxes, or other way around, actually. They have seen you. You didn't see them. They are looking at us. We think usually that in nature wildlife films, we are looking animals, but it's other way around. In real life, they are smelling us. They are looking at us, gazing at us. That's the way also to know about us more. Feeling the gaze from them in our back. I think that's very important. It's changing the perspective, what we do need to do. Maybe here I try to show you a trailer about the film Lynxman.
Mä kysyisin lääkäriltä, saanko mä hiukan mennä mettähän kävelemään? Ihan hiukan vaan. Muuten seinät kaatuu päälle ja mistä ei tuu mitään.
Vitutti, niin mä menin siinä aina. En mä ollut kenelläkään pahaa eikä kiukutellut. Mitä mä toisille ihmisille, kun niilläkin voi olla vaikea.
Anteeksi, nyt kukko vaan. Mulla on kiertokulku.
Mitäkin suuli tietää?
Sä tiedät sen, että sua tarkkaillaan. Siellä perkele oli alkava kapi.
Oi.
Se näkee, että se on hännänpää ja
Tarttuu kohtalaisen helposti.
Oi luoja. Kyllä mä olen sekaisin, saatana. Nyt kun mä näen sen luonnon siellä, mä näen sen aidosti.
Neljä pentua, 5 pentua. Kyllä. Fuck you, maailma. Heti kun kuuluu ihmisten ääntä, niin pois ja heti. Kysy meidän mailla, Rantalan mailla, niin täällä ei kukaan tule kiusaan.
Mitä kuuluu tehdä, kun näkee iso tähdenlento? Mä toivon ilveksi kaikki hyvä.
So 8 years ago, I met a crazy man who came to be a lynxman, lynx whisperer. and he showed his slides in a nature conservation event, very blurry, very bad quality stills taken with trail cams, footages about lynxes. It was a chaos, but what struck me strongly was the emotional connection which he had with the cats. And since then, I was visiting his place and listening him 5 years, trying to understand his ways of thinking. It turned out that he had a very severe accident, falling down from rooftop, broken his arm totally, and since then he was not anymore to continue in a traditional work. So he had lots of time to think, and he went. He had a divorce. He lost a job, and he has challenges with mental things also. But he was able to move him back to the track with the lynxes, because he noticed that the lynxes are hanging around close to his place, and he started to put the trail cams over the house, and it turned out that they are there. The history of lynxes in Finland is a kind of success story. 100 years ago, they really were extinct totally because of the hunting. But since then, after 1960s, little by little, lynxes has been coming back to Finland, to our forest. So Hannu was witnessing this change, but he was also witnessing the change of environment as well as the drastic handling by hunters in Finland. Even though lynx is protected by law, hunters were able to get limited number of killing licenses. And 7 years ago, for example, every fifth of our lynxes were killed by hunters. So he was witnessing this process, how the lynxes were vanishing also from his territory. But on the other hand, in his state of mind, in his imagination, he was able to carry the idea of a wild cat into his mindset. So in Hannu's case, and in the Lynxman film, the story it's not a film about lynxes as such. It's a story about fellow travelership, how to share the space from with the top predator. It's a story how to let the nature come into our head and there changing our attitudes. Basically, during the filming sessions, which were many during the years, I was visiting Hannu's place, and one turning point in the film process was when the leading male lynx called Joseppi was visiting Hannu's house and basically peeing both to the house wall as well as to the lens of the trail camera, what we see on the left-hand side. So all these happened when we were both at the same time at that particular time in his place, and combining dreams, documentary materials, small low resolution materials. Basically, we were transferring the traditional idea of National Geographic style type of film to a 2.0 wildlife story narration direction. During the filming sessions, the whole idea of wildlife filmmaking turned upside down. Basically, the script writing was done by cats. The cameras were toys for them. They were peeing to the lenses. They were playing with the infrared cameras. The whole idea of going to the forest with the long telephoto lenses, like chasing like a hunter after the big cats, that was something very different what we were doing there. It was the cats what were offering ideas for the film, not only me as a director. And little by little, the cats came very close to me as well. But by me, I mean the camera. I also got motivated to buy more cameras, and then little by little, they start to smell me as well when I had installed cameras to the forest. And basically, if you want to communicate with the big cats, you put toys into the forest, like cameras, because they take the interest of cats. Cats choose the moment when they are willing to come to the cameras, not us as filmmakers. It's more, let's say, yeah, it's more fair, to be honest. And many times also the soundscapes were very surprising. When I came back to my home, playing the footages from the forest, I did have immediately new audiences interested about both of what is seen on the screen, but first of all, the sounds. And those sounds, what cats are talking in the forest, are only able to be recorded by trail cams, what I call as forest cameras. And all these methods, also by putting old Christmas decorations to the forest and letting them to come if they want. So here we see 10 months old Lynx boy playing with the kind of Christmas decoration what I brought into the forest. So this is a new way of approaching wildlife filmmaking. You wait 8 years and they will come sooner or later. Simple as that. And here we see this is taking, I mean, since the film was done for international distribution, I've been continuing the filmmaking of Lynxes to do a new one. And here we see what happened 2 weeks ago here in Finland. We see here two kittens, and the one of them has a very particular detail. If you look closer, you see the right ear is bended a little bit. So what is very, very important with this kind of filmmaking is to see the cats as individuals, not only as lynxes. Like this youngster here who is taking her first in independent steps without mother, who is looking the vast world, who is stepping into her first year alone, which is the most dangerous year for these guys, because most of them don't survive. All these, individual aspect as well as anthropomorphism is very important as a language to make both narration, but also construct sympathy, empathy between us and them. By saying in the very beginning, following UNESCO's sustainable citizenship ideas, raising awareness, especially empathy, it's crucial in a bigger scale also. If you think about how we coexist with nature in future, but also how we coexist with each other in peaceful and tolerant way, we need new ways to film. When we are thinking about facing and meeting new kind of cultures like wolves coming at the moment back to Finland, back to South Finland. Wolf is very polemic in media discussion and in general opinion, both here in Finland and in Europe in general. But for these, we need not only me, like the masculine voiceover explaining things, we need also the voice given from their side, how they talk to us. We need that kind of sensitivity to tackle immigration, racism, peacekeeping for us in future. Also learning from ecosystem, which is, I think, the very simple solution for everything. If we follow the 100,000 years of field testing, what nature has done, if we mimic, if we copy these systematic elements, we understand how the balance can be carried out in future. So Lynx is a great example of circular economy, how you pick up the certain prey, how you keep the balance, how you leave the leftovers for next ones, and everything is circulating back to Earth in the end. To meet each other, them and us in future in a peaceful way, it's also a symbol how to tackle mentally the challenges. Let me show in the end a few footages from 2 days back. So this is very new material from camera in Hämeenlinna region. Here we see 3 kittens who are almost ready to start their independent life, and one of them comes close to the camera and takes selfies. So I think this is kind of metaphor for us to continue that they need also privacy sometimes, but on the other hand, they give us the script for the future. This is done last night. So camera sent me material, and this is the male, the leading male in the territory, sleeping at the front of the camera. And why he is doing that, I don't know. Why he is not scared about the infrared light, I don't know. but he can choose whatever place in the forest, but he chose the place at the front of the camera. So I think this could be called ecology of reconciliation when we search sustainable biodiversity in our mindset. Something like that we need to be sensitive for in future. Artists are usually given kind of decoration role in our society, but I think at the moment it's time for artists, because as said, we do have technology. All we do need is to wake up and change. I'm also doing books, films, and impact projects, like at the moment in a gallery here in Tampere. Every week I will have an open lecture for people to come to listen the story of the Lynxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Juha. It was a really nice, great presentation, and also the movie is really like a big experience to see. And as we have said earlier, your work was one of the inspiration for our project, actually. When we heard about that style that you are doing the film, we thought that maybe our students can do something similar and as impactful. So thank you for this nice presentations and all those traits.
Thank you. I decided to keep it short.
Yeah, good.
Okay, and I'm not sure if there's Kirsi, me, and naturally Juha. You have seen the documentary and know all about it more than everything. And but I think like my take on the film was that I think it was because there's this inevitable randomness in that footage, and I think like that somehow that randomness turns into more real presentation of the nature than something that is shot on purpose, even though, naturally you make composition, but because you can't direct the nature, then the sort of the nature, as you were clearly showing here, then the nature kind of directs you in a way. So, and I think that's very, very interesting once you see the movie.
Actually, if I continue here, kind of answer, it's that's right. It's especially in the era of AI, artificial intelligence. I think these kind of aspects will come to the foreground stronger than ever. If we, I think the surprising element what art only can carry, as well as the ethical considerations, it's us. What as humans we can do, but we need those inputs in new ways. I mean, the National Geographic film style, what we've seen, it's great to have on a Saturday, but it didn't change things. The linear consumption continues. So old ways has brought us here. We need something else. We need bad quality footages.
You're right. And hey, there is a question from Björn or comment.
Yeah, could you maybe elaborate a bit more, or so about the creative process? So was it how to put it? So yeah, how was your collaboration, or the initial idea to make there was footage when you came to the project, but there was no film, or was it your idea to put more cameras and so on? But I understood that there was some footage, but it looked like arbitrary, and that's why how you found it as a filmmaker. Is it right?
Yeah, I think yeah, we have to remember that I have never ever seen those cats. what are in the film. I was listening only Hannu's, the main protagonist stories. And of course, technically speaking, we do need for film 1 minute footages, not only 5-second ones, what Hannu had. So that's why we needed to put more cameras into the forest, but also, I mean, in every location, we had several cameras, 3 cameras, typically at least 2, where you can make sequences by combining editing process, those 2 footages and so forth. But the paradox in this Lynx film is that I've never seen those cats, but I really do feel that I know them. And this is really, I mean, hopeful to recognize that it's really possible in audiovisual way to make the connection. And I think that's the fair way also, that you don't chase them in the forest, you let things happen through the cameras. The language happens through the camera, and it's fair process. And what can you say?
It really feels like you it's you took his idea, his stories, and was in a very responsible way, and you enhanced it in a way so you're able to make a film out of it, but you didn't like capture it and exploit it. So you stayed true to his approach. So that is what it sounds like, and maybe that's the secret of the film, because so that it got something special and not just another wildlife movie.
Yeah, I do agree. It's what I realized when it's the Lynxman has toured through the film festivals from Asia to North America to Europe, and looks like personnel is very universal. And of course, as a Finn, we are 6 million only. And Hannu, the protagonist, is even speaking very West Coast accent, who sometimes even Finns we don't understand, but we feel the honesty. And that's what the younger generation also has been commenting when they've seen the film, that it's the honesty. And we older people are not convincing anymore for the younger generation, but honesty, that lasts forever.
Hey, and maybe one comment also about the fact that there has been this impact on the society as well, because as Juha mentioned previously, there are these licenses to kill the lynx, but now as we are speaking, they are in completely halt. So there's no, I think like there's only 2 licenses to kill lynx in Finland, and they have particular reasons, environmental reasons for that. But this film has also been has also contributed to the fact that now there's a complete block on killing lynxes in Finland.
Yeah, and that's true, and it's first time in Finland that no killing, except those few only, and this is very unique moment. But I mean, the cattle was boiling years and years, but the momentum came, and the film was one part of the breakthrough. How people were not anymore, I mean, officials who were allowing the killing were not able to justify ethically nor ecologically anymore the killings. I mean, it's actually, we have so many invasive species, raccoon dog, deers, and what else? Yeah. Many, I mean, if you put a camera into the forest, mostly there are invasive species in camera. And the cats, Lynxes, are really keeping the balance against that. I mean, conquering invasive ones. What would be the disaster for Finnish forest biodiversity? And also, I think in both ways, one of us can make the change. The Hannu can make change, the protagonist, the Lynxman, but film can make the change also. Be part of the catalyzing change, and I think that's the work of art.
Hey, Juha, this is just one very detailed question. I mean, there was when you have those small clips at the end, there was this deer that was looking kind of a young one. And then there was the following clip, there was the lynx has hunted down. I think it was the same deer, but was it a baby lynx? So it wasn't like a full grown, because it looked like a quite small one. Because that to me that felt like a small deer was hunted down, or baby deer was hunted down by a baby lynx. I don't know, like.
The deer what you saw there is a roe deer, Metsäkauris. It's pretty small, dog size. The smallest invasive deer what we do have. That's why it looked like it was an adult, yeah. Okay. But it's showing this, it took 6 years. I kept 6 years, one camera in the same location, and then it comes. You have to be patient with these cases. And this is, I mean, one-man band, you can do films. But it's only one-man band you can do these things, because otherwise it would have been too expensive.
Yes, I mean, in that sense, we are also talking about green production here.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm walking in the forest every weekend, and I have in my package a camera what I can leave to the forest. If I see something, if I feel something, if I hear a woodpecker sound, I know the lynxes are after me. So I put the camera there, hoping for the best. Maybe in the next following 6 years, it will be there. Yeah. Simple as that. Tommy.
Yes, hi. Thanks for the both presentators. These were very interesting for me, as I'm learning the green consulting in film and television right now, and it's a Nordic course for 1 year. So there's a lot of good examples and terms, especially this positive handprint in counting the carbon. It was very exciting for me as a term, but I think Juha's project had a lot of impact in that way, like a positive carbon handprint. In a way, if you can change the legislation or something other, what comes to the hunting the lynx, for example. But yeah, I want to thank you and maybe discussion about that.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy, about pointing that. I should maybe mention also that we have a strong, large-scale impact project with the Nature Preservation Union here in Finland, and there's a Lynx forest fundraising also, and the first forest was already bought for protection, total protection. So this is kind of thing also that companies can buy the green footprint also by that, by buying forest and by being inspired by the Lynx forest protection project and fundraising. But it's not only lynx. I mean, where you see a lynx, there is a great biodiversity also, typically. Everybody is there now talking about the ecosystem and ecology, that the animals, how we call them, they are there where the lynxes are.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments at this point? If not, hey, thank you for participation for this lecture. Thank you for presenters. The both lectures were really interesting and right spot on to our project, I think. And also now those who are coming to Tampere camp this spring in GEM, you got a little teaser of our nature. So hopefully that was also interesting for you. And I guess we are continuing these lectures. Björn, we are going to have a next one on April. So stay tuned. You will be invited to another lecture soon.
Yes, it will be 16th of April. And if you follow us on Eventbrite, you get notified of every event we do.
Yes, and we will have a third one also this spring. Yeah. Hey, thank you for all. This was really nice evening. Have a nice evening at home as well, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.